You want to learn how to program, right? At least I hope that's why you're here. If you're looking for cat videos, they're not here. But for those who are interested in creating websites and mobile applications such as Product Hunt, Airbnb, and Tinder, then you might want to check out codeforstartup.com. It's free to join and there's actually 3 hours of free content, so if you like the teacher and you like the way he introduces things to you, then you can upgrade it to their pro projects. And once you get into the pro projects, each of their courses are like 5 to 9 hours long, so you get what you pay for. Anyway, go ahead and check them out, at least the free tutorials, because why not? Link will be in the description down below. Anyway, on to the video. Hey guys, Jared here, and today we're going to be kick the table. What a way to be welcome back. And today we're going to be working on grabbing directions from your current location to a destination that you want to go to. In our case, we're going to be going to the Grand Canyon, and we're going to learn how to add that direction onto the MapKit view. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Alright, so the first step is, my goodness, I need to clean up my desktop. Much better. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and jump into Xcode and create a new Xcode project. This is of course going to be a single view application. Go ahead, click next. For the product name, go ahead and call this tutorial. I will warn you, if you put this as MapKit, it actually messes with some of the code in importing MapKit into your project, so don't do that. So go ahead and put the product name as tutorial. Language will of course be Swift, device is universal, and now let's go ahead, click next, and create. And now that we're in our project, first we need to go ahead and set up the scene. Really simple in this case, all we need is the MapKit view. So all we need to do is say MK, and then it's going to go ahead and bring up the MapKit view. And there you have it. Now with this MapKit view, we of course need to set up some constraints. So I'm going to go ahead and say leading, trailing, vertical, and bottom spacing. So go ahead and we're good to go. And now let's go ahead and open up our assistant editor here. And we need to go ahead and connect our MapKit view over here to our ViewController.swift. I'm going to go ahead and just call this my MapKit view. Now go ahead and connect. And then we need to go up here to our frameworks, and we're going to go ahead and import MapKit. Like so. And now we can just go down to this class right here, go to the ViewController, UI ViewController, then go ahead and hit comma MK MapView delegate. That way we can regulate some of the things that are going on inside of our MapKit view. And also this is critical for actually getting the user's current position, so we want to make sure that we have that in there. Now inside of our view.did.load, this is where you're going to set pretty much everything up. If you wanted to have like a list of 5 destinations that you wanted to go to, you would set up different things inside of different functions, but for our case, we're just going to be using this one view, so it makes it very simple to just put everything inside of the view.did.load. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is make sure our map view is set up correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and say MapKit view.delegate will be equal to, and I'm just going to go ahead and set this equal to true. So now with our MapKit view, the first thing I want to do is set it up properly inside of our view. So pretty much all you need to do is say MapKit view.delegate will be equal to self. And that's just going to mean that this view controller right here delegates whatever is going to go on inside of the MapKit view. And what we can do with that is like update user location. We can also add those lines so that we can actually see the directions. That's what we're mainly doing here. Now the next thing that we're going to do here is pretty much up to you. So we're going to go ahead and say MapKit view dot, and then what we're going to do here is just say shows. And then you can say shows scale, shows compass, shows traffic, shows buildings, all of that kind of stuff. You could add any or all of them if you want. I'm just going to go ahead and say shows scale will be equal to true. And then I'm also going to say MapKit view.shows points of interest. Now this is specifically useful in the case where what we're doing is we're going to grab the Grand Canyon and get the coordinates from the Grand Canyon, and we want to see if we got the coordinates correct. So with shows points of interest, it's going to show like Grand Canyon National Park or the Empire State Building or other things like that, so that you can at least see that we're close. Now finally, the last thing I'm going to do is pretty crucial, is I'm going to go ahead and say MapKit view.shows user location, and I'll go ahead and set that equal to true. So that's pretty much that little blue dot that you see that shows your location. That's what we're putting on the screen, and I think it's very useful in terms of getting directions. So let's go ahead, and we're good to go now. So now if you were actually to build and run this, you'd be able to see a map on your screen. It's very cool. It was very simple to set that up. Now we get into the real nitty-gritty part of this, which is going to be grabbing the destinations and getting directions to each of those destinations from your current point. So let's go ahead and do that. Now right here I have MapKit view.shows user location. Now one thing to keep in mind here is you need proper privacy agreements and other things to get that user location. So in order to do that, we need to head into our info.plist and set that up accordingly. So I'm going to go ahead and say add a new row, and then what you're going to do is type in privacy, and then we have location usage. What? Location always usage description, location usage description, and location when in usage. So you want to go ahead and add all three of those. So add a new row, privacy, yada yada yada, add them all. And now what you want to do with each of these rows is it's asking for a description. And basically what this description is going to be your app name, because it's going to say this app is requesting your location. So you want to go ahead and put in, say, tutorial, or the name of your app. And that's the name that's going to be shown to people when they're agreeing to share the location. And now just go ahead and add the other two and do the exact same thing, put in the app name, and you're done. And now we have all of those location descriptions in there, so we're pretty much good to go. Now, one thing I need to point out is if you're trying to build and run this and you get this error that it says lib mobile gestalt, does not have sandbox access, and is not properly entitled. We know we appropriately entitled things because that's what we just did there, but we don't have sandbox access. So what you need to do is go ahead, head over to iTunes Connect, and then what you're going to do is go to users and roles. We're going to go ahead, go over here to sandbox testers, create a new sandbox tester, and then you want to go ahead, go over to your iPhone, go over to settings, and then you want to go ahead and log out of your personal account and log in to your sandbox tester. And that way you're able to grab the location properly. And now once we have all of this done, even if you were to build and run the application right now, you're still not going to get the user location to pop up. We need to request access. So let's go ahead and do that. So what we need to do is go ahead and say let location manager equal, and then this is going to be a CL location manager. And now what we need to do also with this is go up here to the class and say CL location manager delegate, like so. And finally go ahead and add open close parentheses at the end of that, and we're good to go. All right, and now finally down here we want to go ahead and say location manager dot request, and then we can say request always authorization. And then we're also going to say location manager dot, and then we're going to also request the when in use authorization. So there you go. And now if you were to go ahead and build and run this, you'll see this allow tutorial to access your location, yada yada yada. Go ahead and allow that, and boom. Once we have authorization all done, you'll be able to see the current location for our user. So whoop. And now that we have authorization, what we need to do is first make sure that we have authorization, and then we'll go ahead and start updating the values and other things with our user. So we're going to go ahead and say if the CL location manager dot location service is enabled, then we can go ahead and do the stuff in here. In the which we'll go ahead and say our location manager dot delegate will be equal to self, and then after this we're also going to say location manager dot desired accuracy is equal to, and then in this case we'll go ahead and say KCL location accuracy. You can put best 100 meters, 3 kilometers, all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and just get the best because we're getting directions and that's important. And then finally with this we want to go ahead and say location manager dot start updating location, like so. And now that we have all of this done, we have this inside of our view did load, we are updating the location with our location manager. We can now actually grab the coordinates of our location manager and use that to our advantage so that we can actually get directions. What I want to do is say let the source coordinates equal, and then I'm going to go ahead and set this equal to location manager dot location dot coordinate. And that's what we want to grab out of this. So now we have our source coordinates, and then now we also want to get our destination coordinates. So now depending on where you want to go, let's go ahead over here to Google. You can easily just type in Grand Canyon National Park coordinates. Boom, there you have it. So these are the coordinates that we're going to be using inside of our project. Now what we're going to do is head back over here. We'll say let destination, I'm just going to put dest coordinates, will be equal to CL location coordinate 2D make. So we're going to get the latitude and the longitude and put that in there, and that's going to be our coordinate for our destination. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the latitude, which is going to be 36.1070. And then for our longitude right here, you'll see that this is saying 112.1130, but really this is west. So this is negative 112. If you did put it as 112, it would be like Beijing. So we want to go ahead and put that in correctly. So we want to go ahead and make sure that we're correct with our latitude and longitude. So this is going to be negative 112.1130. And that goes the same for the other coordinate. This is north, so it's going to be a positive, but if it was south, you want to put a negative in front of that. Just something to keep in mind. Now the next thing we want to do with these coordinates is create MapKit placemarks. So we're going to go ahead and say, let my source placemark equal, and this is going to be MK placemark, open parentheses, and then we just want to select this one that says coordinate. And then for our coordinate here, we're of course source placemark, source coordinate. Just makes sense. So we're going to go ahead and put that right in there. Now, finally, we're going to go ahead and do our destination placemark. So I'm going to say dest placemark equal MK placemark, open parentheses, this is going to be the coordinates, and then of course this will be our dest coordinates. And then for our source coordinates right here, we want to go ahead and make sure that we have an exclamation point at the end of that, just to unwrap things, and then we're good to go. And now finally, the last thing we need to do is create some map items. Now these are very important in the terms of getting directions, so that's why we're creating them. So we just need to go ahead and say, let my source item equal, and this is of course going to be MK map item, open parentheses, and inside of here you'll see placemark, MK placemark. Just go ahead and put inside of here your source placemark, and boom, you're done there. Now we need to create one last item. This is going to be your destination item. So I'm going to say, let my dest item equal MK map item, open parentheses, placemark. We're going to go ahead and put in here my dest placemark, and then boom, we're done there. Now with these map items in here, we're finally going to get the directions from them. So we're going to go ahead and say, let my direction request equal, and this is going to be equal to an MK direction request. So we're just going to put that in there, open close parentheses. Now we can go ahead and say direction request dot, and then we can have the source, which is of course going to be equal to my source item, like so. So this is where we're going to be starting off. Now we need to add our destination. So I'm going to say direction request dot destination will be equal to my dest item. And there you have it. Now the last thing that we need to do with our direction request is, are you going to be walking, running, or taking the train, or whatever? So we're just going to go ahead and say direction request dot, this is going to be the transport type, will be equal to dot, and then you can say automobile, transit, or walking. So we're just going to go ahead and put in, let's have walking in there just for fun. So there you have it. And now with this direction request, now we need to actually put these directions onto our map. So it's pretty simple to do this. All you need to go down here is say, let my directions equal, and then I'm going to go ahead and set this equal to my MK directions, open parentheses, our request. We go ahead and put in our direction request. And then now with these directions here, we need to calculate them. And with this, we're also going to add some polylines and other things onto the roads and other things that we're walking on. Or if you're driving, that you're driving on. So we're just going to go ahead and say directions dot, and then we're going to say calculate. So we're going to calculate everything. Our completion handler will say open curly bracket, close curly bracket, and then what it's expecting is a response and an error. So we're just going to go ahead and put in response, comma, error in, and there you have it. And now with our response here, we want to make sure that our response is viable. So we want to make sure that we're not getting any errors that happen here. So I'm going to go ahead and say guard let response equal response. If that is true, then we'll continue on and do things normally. Else, we'll go ahead and say if let error equal error, then we'll go ahead and just print out a statement that something went wrong. And then inside of this if statement, if something does go wrong, then we'll just go ahead and return, and then that's going to make it so nothing down here actually happens. And that's what we want. So if there's an error, we just stop everything, and something went wrong. We didn't grab the destination, such as, let's say we grab walking from our place to Beijing. There's going to be some error there because we can't, it doesn't really show planes and other things inside of the MapKit view. So something to keep in mind. So now we want to go ahead and grab the route. So I'm going to go ahead and say let my route equal my response dot routes, and then we're just going to grab the first route that's there. That's going to be the fastest one. And now with this route, we're going to go ahead and add a polyline onto the roads that we're going to be taking. So I'm going to go ahead and say self.mapKitView.add, and this one we're going to grab the overlay and the level. So our overlay here is going to be equal to my route.polyline And then for your MK overlay level right here, this is going to be either above labels or above roads. Honestly, it's up to you, but I'm going to go ahead and say above roads, just because I want the labels to go above the polyline if it's necessary. So above roads to me sounds better. And now finally what we're going to do here is we have a starting position. So we want to position our map starting on that starting position so that we don't confuse any people. That means it's going to zoom in on your starting position, and that's where you're going to start your journey from, if that makes sense. So now what we're going to do is say let my rect equal. So now we're going to go ahead and say let my rect equal. Get it? Because it's a rectangle. No, GetRect. Will be equal to my route.polyline dot, and then this is going to be my bounding map rectangle. And then now with this, we're going to go ahead and say self.mapKitView.set region. And then for our region here, we're going to go ahead and set this equal to my MK coordinate region for map rectangle. So now we're going to go ahead and put inside of here my rect. And then now for the animated, we'll set this equal to true. So there you have it. So now it's not going to start off on some random position on the screen. It's going to start off where you want to start off. And that's what I was hoping. Now let's go ahead and build and run this and see where we're at. There's a few things that we still need to do here, but I think for the most part we have some things going on correctly. So we have our rectangle, it's zoomed in properly, but what you cannot see is there's no distance line, there's no polyline that's actually being added onto the screen. It's an invisible polyline, and for that we need to go ahead and add a polyline of our own. So let's go ahead and do that. So the way that we do this is there is actually a function connected with your MapKit views. So I'm going to go ahead and type in MapView renderer, and then this is going to be renderer for overlay. And then this is going to be an MK overlay renderer, and that's what we're going to be returning, and that's going to be our polyline. So, woo! So now inside of here, we're going to go ahead and say let my renderer equal, and then this is going to be a MK polyline renderer. So polyline renderer will be equal to, and this is going to be equal to my MK polyline renderer. Like so, and then inside of here we're going to say open parentheses, this is going to be with the overlay, in which we're going to go ahead and add the overlay of the overlay. So pretty much this overlay is what we're putting right in here. And what this overlay is anytime an overlay is added onto our map view, such as right up here we have let route equal that, we add that polyline, then we can take that overlay and do stuff with it. What we're doing with this is adding a stroke color and a stroke width. So you can go ahead and do that. Let's say renderer.stroke color will be equal to a UI color dot, let's say blue. And then now we're going to say renderer.line width will be equal to, let's just go ahead and set this equal to 5. And then now with that completed, we're just going to go ahead and return the value of our renderer. And now let's go ahead, build and run this, and let's see where we're at. All right, so now if we were to go ahead and build and run this, we should have it that the map loads up. It loads up into that polyline position that we're going to be doing, and it adds that blue line onto that polyline that we added. Woo! So this is pretty much the directions that you need to follow in order to get to the Grand Canyon from my location. Of course, yours is going to look a little bit different than mine because you're in different locations, but overall you get the general idea that this is where, and also one thing to note is as you zoom in, that renderer changes the line width accordingly. Kind of important. So anyway, there you have it. That's how you grab directions and are able to follow directions inside of a MapKit view. One thing I want to add is in the next part of this tutorial, if there is a next part, I'd really like to show how to display directions so that people can follow them as they're moving along their route. We'll see how this works, but I think it would be a very cool tutorial. Let me know what you think about it. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button down below. And also, if you want to see more tutorials like this from me in the future, be sure to subscribe. I know I haven't posted much lately, but I'd love to post some more. I have a big tutorial series coming in about a month, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, have yourselves an awesome day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.